I believe that creative people don't have just one hobby, just one passion. Like many famous actors are painters, many singers are actors, many wrestlers are actors, and that's why on this channel, for my subscribers, I don't want to limit myself just talking about paintings and street art and stickers, t-shirts and graphic design. I want to bring in something new, and that is photography.
If you're new here, welcome. I'm a creative person through and through, and this is the place where I share my journey. My passions range from drawing and painting to street art, travel photography, linocut printing, and my work as graphic designer. Whether I'm creating art, traveling and capturing the world through my lens, designing bold packaging, or carving my imagination into prints, I invite you to join me on my everyday adventures, big and small. Let's get inspired to live, to love, to learn, and create.
Before I continue to talk about photography, I wanted to show you some pictures that I found in my old photo albums. This is the photo I could find with a camera in my hand. That's me around 22, 24 years ago. It's early 2000s. I have a Zenit TTL camera with manual focus, and of course it's a film camera. I spent so much money on buying film and developing and making photos. I still have some left, but those photos were awful. I took photos of everything that occurred interesting to me, like here's burnt grass with a Sprite bottle. I took photos when I was traveling around my country. I haven't visited any foreign countries yet. It was 25 years ago. And I couldn't figure out how could I make a living with this. At the time, I was working as a plumber, and I knew that plumbing isn't for me. And I took a lot of photos of everything, and now going through them, I see that I mostly did documentary work or I did portraiture. And I didn't know that. I just found out it today that looking at some of these photos, mostly I was photographing, capturing images of my friends, of my coworkers, and some of them are not that bad. This one is my favorite, I think. This is what at a music festival. And I took photos of my friends who were making BMX and other bike tricks. Some guys' hands at my work. See, the hands are dirty. We're playing dominoes. That was the main game. Again, portrait of my friend, and I did this lamp. I was working as a plumber, and when I got some free time from scraps of metal, I made art installations, art lamps. I don't know how you call it. More bikes. And this was my art. I was listening to Korn, Limp Bizkit, so everything damaged, like a damaged childhood trauma was my theme. Of course, done in black and white because the black and white film was cheaper. And yeah, that's me. 20 years ago. So it's interesting how I was doing portraits I didn't know, and right now I'm like coming back to the idea doing portraits again. But back then I wanted to find out how can I make money with the basic DSLR. It was just the start of digital photography, and one thing I could figure out was selling my photographies to stock sites. And photography is one of those hobbies I started 25 years ago, and I wanted to be a commercial, like a stock footage photographer. I wanted to photograph basic things because when digital photography just came to be, it was very hard to make a good photo because the cameras were very expensive and we had only the cheap ones. And to make a good photo with a cheap camera and cheap lens was very hard. And it was like a test. If you can sell your photography online, you made it. You were a professional photographer. And I got sick of it. I got rid of my cameras. I stopped uploading to photo sites like Shutterstock, iStock Photo, And I went full in with mobile photography. We started to travel with the family a bit more, and a phone is always in your pocket. A phone always makes your pictures look vibrant. Of course, after time you understand that the photos look flat, but I didn't feel it because my cameras, my Canon 550D with a standard lens of 3.5 to 5.6 was a slow aperture camera, and I didn't feel that big depth of field anyway. So I started mobile photography. I bought a Huawei phone. I photographed the whole trip around Europe, and I was very impressed and I was very happy with it. But then, after a few years, I thought I need a small pocketable camera. And I had a Fuji X-T4. I sold it because it was very heavy and I didn't bring it to any trips. So I had zero experience with the camera. I had only the commercial. I did with the X-T4. I did only commercial work, commercial photography, commercial videography, and I sold it for so I could travel, so we could go on a new travel. And I bought a Fujifilm X-A1. It's a pretty old camera. It doesn't even use the famous Fuji X-Trans sensor. It uses Bayer sensor. I think it's 2013 or 2012. And I bought it just for fun. It was only $150 or $200. And it came with a pretty manual 7 artisans lens. And I thought to myself, well, okay, let's try it. And I fell in love with the photography like in the beginning when I had a Zenit camera, manual film camera, because I started photography when there still was film. So I fell in love because the photos looked janky. The manual focus was not always correct. There was heavy vignetting, chromatic aberration, all that good stuff that we were trying to avoid all these years. And I felt so freed from all these stock photo limitations that every photograph must be super sharp, every photograph must have white balance. And I felt in love with photography because nobody could tell me what I should or what I need to do. And that's why I started buying even more cheap lenses. I wanted to see what can I get out of them. This is a 35mm, costs only $75, and it was amazing. I took it to Naples, I took it to Amalfi Coast. All the photos look great. Of course they have difficult technical issues, but it doesn't matter. What I think matters, how you feel about your camera. This is not a phone. I don't want to take pictures with my phone. I want to take pictures with a camera which has metallic body, manual dials, all the clicky stuff. I even have a Sony somewhat professional camera, the Sony ZV-E1 that I took on my trip to Sri Lanka, but it doesn't have a mechanical shutter, and I can't take photographs if I don't have. I need to hear that mechanical shutter. I know there's something satisfying, and with electronic shutter, there's no sound whatsoever. And the photos have technical limitations because there's banding, there's heavy rolling shutter, and yeah, that's why somehow I started to introduce myself back into photography. So back to my point, that from time to time I definitely want to talk about photography, and I don't want to talk about like some technical and I don't want to talk about just technical stuff and lens reviews and cameras. I want to just share some knowledge that I've gathered throughout the years. Of course, it would be fun to test out new lenses because lenses are expensive, and if you want to stay on a budget and travel as much as possible as I do, I buy the cheapest stuff. And what I find odd that many people on YouTube have reviews, and after testing many of those gadgets, I can say 80% of the reviews are wrong. I think the reviewers who make these videos don't even know how to properly use their gear, because I have excellent results with all my cheap stuff. And even people who say, oh my god, your camera doesn't have a viewfinder. You don't need it. If you ever have taken a photo with your phone, LCD screen is absolutely enough. There's a light meter that shows you your exposition. You don't even, you can do it in bright sunlight. I have done it a million times. Watch your exposition, take a photo, review it, take another one, adjust the exposure, and you're done. And if that makes your camera pocketable, this is really pocketable. Mostly I put it on my backpack strap. And those are all the little things I want to talk about from time to time. About the gear I use, what can I recommend, what I don't recommend. And further going in the future, I know that I can buy something and I can make a video out of it. That way I get new gear and you get a new video that maybe will help you in your photography adventures. I just wanted to come out on this lovely Sunday because look at the beautiful scenery around me. It's the second time it's snowing this year, and we just came out with my wife and take a little breather, take a little walk around the forest because it's so lovely. Yeah, and one more thing. A year back I wanted to start to talk about photo printing because I especially for my hobby I bought a pretty cheap photo printer and the results are really good. So that's another thing I could show you. I can show you some examples. What are the differences between papers? What are the differences between photo printing softwares? And I think it's a good, interesting subject, as I said in the beginning, because creative people always have more interest than one. Because one smart person said, a creative person is a curious person. And as we draw, we are curious to see, or we paint, we are curious to see the final result. Like when I was young, there was these paint by numbers painting sheets for children, and they were so elaborate that I couldn't understand what's on the final picture. And what you really had to do, you had to take your markers and paint through it to see what's in the final result. So I think that is a correct objection, that creative people are curious people. We want to paint, we want to see the final result, we want to draw, we want to make stencils. That's another thing. When you cut out the stencil and you spray paint it and you see the final result, it's always like, oh wow, it's like a magical reveal. And photography is the same. When you take a picture, you had to take it to the lab, get the negatives done, then you get the prints, and then you review your prints, and then you're checking if you're happy with the result. And that's always like every time you get a film back from the lab, it's like Christmas. You're opening your packet, you're looking at the pictures, which ones are good, which ones are bad. And the same goes when you have a printer at home. You press print, and the pictures in a printed format are completely different story than you're watching on your mobile screen and you're watching on your camera screens. It's a different experience, but we'll talk about that in another video. I don't want to keep this too long, so you'll get bored with me. As this YouTube channel is dedicated of my journey of becoming a full-time artist, I'm doing everything I can to be a full-time YouTuber, and every single type of revenue stream is welcomed, and I thought, why don't I put up some of my photos as photo prints? Mustache man prints are coming, but that's gonna be a whole nother video. T-shirts already up on my Etsy shop, but right now I'm starting to upload some of my favorite photographs, many different sizes, from big ones to medium ones and to extra small ones. This is basically a postcard, but still you can frame it if you don't have a large large empty wall to where you can put something like this up. You can always buy something small and help me on my journey to become a full-time artist. So if you're into photography or any of my videos, this is the tradition for us at the end of the video. If you stick with me so far, comment down below in the comments and say manual focus. Thank you, and see you next time.